Yo, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to today's meditation. I'm your guide at Woodstock, and this is the Ashes to Ashes meditation. Before we begin, let's share a few deep, grounding, and nourishing breaths. Ready? Inhale through the nose. Beautiful. Isn't that a great way to just take a break? Just stop and take a few breaths, and it can just reset you and ground you and make you a little more focused and aware. Try it all throughout the day. Anyway, let's get into it. Today's meditation is called Ashes to Ashes because it's Ash Wednesday. And although I'm not a particularly religious person, I do believe that many of the world's religions have a lot to teach us about the quest for meaning that human beings have been in search of for millennia. Ever since we were on this planet, we've been searching for the reason why we're here, what our purpose is, where we go. And it's a big mystery. It's a beautiful mystery. And it's beautiful to embrace that mystery and to live the questions. And one of the ways that we can do that is to remember as the reason for Ash Wednesday. The ashes are put on the forehead of the Christians and Catholics as a reminder that we come from the earth and we will return to the earth. And the priest will stand over the coffin at a funeral mass and say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and recite the prayer. And so today on Ash Wednesday, many Catholics will go to church and get ashes on their forehead to simply remind them of that process of returning to where we come from. And that can seem kind of scary to a lot of people. The idea of our own death and our own mortality. But I also feel like it can be very helpful for us to remember that life is short, life is finite, it's fragile. And it gives us the incentive and motivation sometimes to remind us that we need to carpe diem and seize the day and choose to live intentionally and with purpose, because our health and our body and our lives are finite. And there's another great Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, who wrote a book called Meditations. And in Meditations, he talks about memento mori. And memento mori simply means remember that you will die. And similarly, in past periods, there has been artwork. Sometimes you'll see the artwork with the skull. And on the skull is the crown. And next to the crown is the candle that's burnt out. And next to that is the fruit that is rotting, or the gold pieces in the scale. And the reason that this art was so popular at some points was because it reminded us that death was this great denominator. Meaning, even if you became a king and amassed all the riches in the world and held this beautiful flower, that ultimately, after your death, you would just return to dust and ashes. That the flower would wilt, the apple would rot, and the money would just sit there because you can't take it with you. And it sounds morbid to a lot of people, but there is a beautiful power in remembering that life is finite and that time is precious. It really can push us and motivate us to, we can wake up in the morning and we can see the day as a lifetime before we go back to the death of sleep. And when we can recognize phases of our lives as being these moments in which we can choose to engage and participate in life in a meaningful way, we can start to recognize, not in a fearful way that we're afraid of death, but by remembering that we will someday come to pass, that we can choose to make this beautiful experience into an adventure and a journey in which we live intentionally and with purpose. When we really stop to sometimes reflect what happens when someone passes away, it can draw us closer to ourselves. And in other ways, by becoming closer to ourselves, we can learn to kind of let go of the things that no longer serve us, that have been holding us back. It can also remind us that maybe we're carrying around things that don't belong to us anymore. Maybe there is resentment and anger. Maybe there has been some hurt and some conflict with other people in our lives that we've been holding on to. And maybe this is a call to maybe sit with what it means to make space for the pain and the hurt, and to offer forgiveness to ourselves. Maybe we can even offer and extend that forgiveness to other people who we perceive to have done us wrong. And it doesn't have to be a big grandiose thing where you reach out and have some emotional breakdown. And it can just be simply an opportunity to reconcile those emotions within yourself and make a conscious choice to let it go. And by no longer carrying around the weight of past indiscretions and learning to forgive ourselves for the shame and the guilt that we carry about certain past transgressions, it's a beautiful way to practice memento mori. It's a beautiful way to remember that we're not going to be here for a very long time. And then we can learn to tap into these ideas of forgiveness and letting go of things that no longer belong to us, so we can live with a greater freedom that allows us to practice living intentionally and with purpose. So let's sit with that for a few minutes as we wrap up this meditation. If you want, close your eyes and just breathe a little more deeply. Remember that you were born into this world with the freedom to be, to become, to express, to share, to experience everything and anything that you choose to. Choose to remember that the people in your lives will not be here forever. And maybe by sitting with those feelings, we can address some of the resentments we hold on to. Maybe by simply making space for that deep knowing that there are things we need to let go, it can give us the freedom to improve the quality of a relationship that's maybe been suffering because we've been kind of stuck in the past with a heaviness, and we know that it's time to let it go. So, we came from the earth, we will return to the earth. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Memento mori. Remember that we will die someday. And make it a point to live today and all the rest of our days. Do it with intention. Do it with purpose. Breathe deeply and create that peace within you. And then share that with the rest of the world and the people you encounter as you embrace and cherish the shortness and sweetness of this beautiful life. Thanks for tuning in tonight. And if you want to sign up for my newsletter or learn more about upcoming programs, retreats, spiritual guidance, just check me out at edwoodstock.com. And take care of yourself and each other.